Hey guys, here today showing you how to, well, the way I am going to replace the rear CV axle that's, buried back up in here on a 2004 Lexus LS430. This should work for the 2000 through 2006 LS430s. It very well may work for, the later models. I'm just not entirely sure. I'm sure there's a specific way to go about doing this, but essentially we're gonna have to get the axle out of the middle. As you can see, the axle is you can't really see it, but the black shaft that's right back here. We're gonna have to remove this hub. Well, that's what I'm gonna do, is remove this hub. There may be a easier way to do it by maybe just disconnecting 2 or 3 arms and then swinging the hub up. But what I'm going to do is just remove the hub altogether. You will need a 32mm 12-point socket to get this axle nut off. That looks like this here. This guy, see, it has 12 points inside instead of the traditional 6-point deal. So you will need a 12-point socket. Obviously I have the car jacked up on jack stands. The only step I did already was to remove this castle nut, which is this thing right here. It sits just on there like that, and then this cotter pin slid through like this. So just bend the cotter pin up, remove the cotter pin, remove this locking ring, and then you'll have access to that. If you have air tools or an impact, you should be able to just use your impact to break this loose up here. If you do not have impact, you may be able to get away with just putting the car in park, putting the e-brake on, and breaking this loose with a breaker bar. You may be able to have someone step on the brakes as well. That way this, thing's not just spinning around here, and it'll stay still. If you have one tire on the ground, I don't know if these have limited slip differentials. If they do, then you may be able to get away with doing it that way as well. To make things for sure, you can pop the center cap out of your wheel. Just reach around the back, pop it out, put the wheel back on, put the car back down on the ground, and then that way you have all the weight of the car stopping it from moving, and then you should be able to break that loose. But as I said, I'm gonna have to remove this whole hub. That requires disconnecting a lot of things. So this here arm is gonna have to get disconnected. Obviously not up here. I'm going to disconnect it from here where this ball joint is. There's another arm that's right here underneath it. You can see that goes to the bottom there. I'm going to disconnect this upper control arm. I'm going to disconnect this brake wear sensor. I'm going to disconnect the speed sensor right here for the ABS. I am going to take the lower shock mount off. I am also going to, under here you can see, I'm going to remove this arm here as well. There's the axle right here if you couldn't tell. So yeah, I'm going to remove a lot of stuff. I'm also going to take the caliper off and hang it up, so that way I don't want to take off this line here and have brake fluid going everywhere. I'm just going to take the whole caliper off, which is just held on by these 2 bolts right here. I'm going to take that caliper off completely and then just hang it up to the side so that I can leave that intact. So the first thing I'm going to do though is try and deal with this wiring that's up here. This one is pretty easy enough. There's just a tab right here that you squeeze and remove it. I mean, I'll probably make it easier than it sounds, but yeah, there's just a tab there. You can press this tab, pull this connector off. That's the brake wear sensor here. Just kind of goes into a little deal like this, and it goes down into the caliper. This will stay on the car along with this. When you hang up the caliper, it'll just stay up there. The next thing we'll need to do is remove this ABS sensor, which if you look straight down here, the camera's probably not going to zoom on it, but there is a I don't know if it will or not. Anyway, if you look down at this wire, there's a straight down, there's a 10mm bolt that's holding the sensor in, and all you do is just pull this wire straight up out of the hole. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that stuff now. You won't see it on camera, but that's just what's gonna happen at the moment. So just bear with me for a second. Okay, so as I told you, I removed this connector that was just right here. Just squeeze this little tab, pull it off. Like I said, I'm not gonna take it off of the caliper. I'm just gonna leave this hanging in the caliper like that. I also went on ahead and removed the speed sensor, which I said is a little 10mm that's holding it on, and you just pull it straight up out of the hole. You can just let that set down to the side. Next thing I'm going to do is remove this brake caliper. It's held on by two 19mm screws or bolts. There's one there, one there. So go on ahead and just remove those. And after that, we're going to go on ahead and I'm going to hang this caliper probably by the exhaust back here, just so it's way out of my way and I don't have to deal with it. You can hang it up with zip ties or a bungee cord, a shoestring, whatever you, pretty much whatever you want. Okay, so that's free. Let me go grab myself a couple zip ties so I can zip tie it up out of the way. Be right back with you. Okay, as you can tell, I got the brake caliper just zip tied hanging up over there, so it's out of the way. The next thing I'm going to focus on probably is removing the right lower control arm. As you can see, the one closest to the front of the car, which is this guy right here. It's held on by, get you a good angle at it. It's held on by this one, I believe that's a 19mm. Let me double check. Yep, a 19mm bolt that's holding the forward arm on. We are going to take this one off as well, but I'm not going to remove that one just yet. I'm going to go ahead right here and loosen this one up. So like I said, that's a 19. Okay, now that one is loose. Now we're gonna have to go ahead and remove the ball joint, which is on the other side. I'll show you guys what that looks like. So here we're working on the bottom. Remember, we just pulled off the bolt, the nut that was on the other side over here. Now we're gonna have to remove this here, this arm, this one that's close right here. If you have a ball joint removal tool, you can use that. Okay, so in order to get that lower ball joint off down here at the bottom, you can see this gold screw or nut. I tried to use my tool on it, which was this tool right here, but it simply just wouldn't open wide enough to get around there. I mean, I can start to go onto it, but it just wasn't working. So what I ended up doing was screwing this nut back on, and since the nut up here is beveled on top, I screwed it on as far down as I could with leaving a little bit of gap right here. And then what I did was take a hammer and gave it a few taps, and it broke the ball joint loose. So the ball joint now is loose and it's ready to come off. So I'm going to go on ahead and just remove this nut now, like so. And then you can see this guy is already ready to come out, so I'm just going to go ahead and remove it out of the other side. Okay, so as you can see, I basically have this thing out. This is no longer in this hole anymore. I pulled it out as far as it can come, but probably going to go on. We're going to have to loosen up some of the other arms in order to get this fully free. So the next arm I'm going to focus on is this one right here on top. It's exactly the same procedure. There's a 19mm that's right here. I'm going to loosen that up, and I'm going to go on ahead and re-thread it back on some, and then just give it a few taps with the hammer, and it should come out as well. So I'm going to go ahead and do that one now. So that's loose. I'm going to go ahead and thread it back on some, just so I have a lot of threads engaged, and I'm going to go on ahead and hit this up with the hammer. and that's broke loose just like that. Can loosen this back up now. You can see that guy pops straight out. And what I'm thinking we'll be able to do is instead of having to disconnect all of the whole deal is I think we'll be able to get away with loosening up the shock here. I know I said earlier I'm going to take this whole hub off, but I think we're going to be able to leave this here in place, take this shock mount off, and take this other lower arm off, and I think we'll be good. So the next thing we're going to take off is this other arm that you can see. You can't see it down past that, but just above this there's another gold screw that's right here. So I'm going to try and pull this arm completely out, which I should be able to now, I hope. Yep, that guy's out. And then go on ahead and loosen and remove, well, don't loosen and remove it, but loosen up that guy. That way we can go on ahead and hit that last screw out. So, left me some threads there so I can try and hit that with a hammer. Go ahead and try and hit this guy with a hammer a few times. I need to hit it a little bit more than that. I don't know if you can see in camera, but I went on ahead and disconnected this right here, this sway bar end link that was attached to the arm that we're trying to take off right now. It's a 14 millimeter. I don't know if this is going to help me being able to move this a little better, but I'm hoping so. Worst comes to worst, I'll use my pickle fork, which is this guy. Don't really want to, so I'm not going to try now. Really going to just try and hit this thing off still. I think I'm going to have to just resort to using the pickle fork. Now, you can see this is the arm here, completely loosen out. Okay, so just to recap, took off the wiring here, the ABS wiring, the brake caliper. I disconnected this sway bar end link, which is attached to that arm that we just took off. This arm is down here now, hanging down there. We took off this arm right here. I just have it loosely into place there. That'll just come right off. And then we took off this the other arm that's down here as well. So the last thing I'm going to go on ahead and loosen up and remove is this lower shock mount here. I believe that is held on by a 19 millimeter as well, just on the back side. Yep, it's just held on just there. Sorry if you can't see it. Let me move this sway bar link. Just this one here is a 19. Go on ahead and loosen and remove that completely. just barely hitting it off there. Okay, so that guy now is completely off. So the only thing that you have holding on, the only thing you have here holding this on now is just this upper control arm here. The shock is off, as you can tell. It's off, completely off, just hanging there. You should have taken off and loosened this already. So I loosened it up, spun it out, then I used a hammer to kind of hit this into the hub there like so. Probably go ahead and remove this completely now. So you have that there in the hub. And then everything else should be like loose. The only thing holding this in really, excuse me, I know I'm so close. The only thing holding this in is the axle itself that just needs to get pushed out of the hub. And then I'm hoping it'll come out without having to undo this here. But we'll see if we can get it out right now. We'll say that while I'm pulling this out, you're gonna need to apply this pressure so that I can hit out the face of the axle out. Okay, so I don't know if you saw that, but I was able to get it loose. As you can see, the axle is now out. What I did was use a pry bar to help kind of swing this thing up. Sorry, yeah, to help kind of swing that thing up. And then now I was able to get it out of the way, so I had to pretty much swing this thing all the way up as high as I can get it. And then now we just got to pop the axle out of the diff back there, and then should be good to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you how to do that. Okay, so now if we're looking up at the inner part of the axle, this guy here, it should just be able to pop out the flathead, I believe, like this. You see I just popped it out just like so. So there could be some oil that comes out of here. You can get yourself a drain plug or drain pan underneath it, but it should just pop out pretty relatively easily. Like so. And you go on ahead and just remove this, and then go on ahead and insert the new axle. Okay, so I got the new axle in place. I suggest putting a little bit of grease on the end of it. That'll help it get into the diff a little easier. There is a snap ring on the end of the axle, so when you stick it in there, you're gonna have to hit it in with the hammer on the opposite end, and I'll show you how to do that. Because if you just stick it in there and you think it's in there all the way, it's probably not. about as far as I can get it in there by hand. So I'll see you back on the other side to show you what to do to get it all the way in. Okay, so what you want to do now, to get it fully seated, what I do is I take the old nut from the other one and screw it on to the new one here. Because I don't care if I damage this guy. I do care if I damage the new one. So I'll kind of just thread that guy on. And then what you need to do is to take a hammer and hit this so that it fully seats the axle into the diff. If you don't, like I said, you're going to have a struggle trying to get this back into the hub because the axle is going to be so far out that it won't work. So this should just pop straight in. You kind of I guess feel it pop in there. Okay, I know you couldn't see that there, but I was able to get mine all the way in. So yeah, just give it a few good whacks and I should be able to get in. Now next comes the task of fighting to get this axle back into the hub, so we'll do that now. So just like it was to take this axle out, it's going to be a struggle to get it back in as well, but you pretty much need to swing this all the way up to try and get the edge into the axle back into the hub. So I got mine back started into there. So you can see I fully got it all the way back in. So I'm going to go on ahead and take my nut, screw it back on, that way it doesn't come back out. And pretty much the only thing we need to do now is to just reinstall everything that we took out. So first thing I'm going to focus on getting on is this lower shock. You may have to push the hub down to get it to, line back up, but it shouldn't be too hard. If you need some help, just have someone step on top of the rotor here, and that should be able to help you get it down. So I'm going to put that on now. Go on ahead and tighten the nut back up. And you won't be able to get this fully tightened because, as you can tell, the hub is moving around. So we're going to have to get the other arms into place, and then we can go on ahead and finish tightening them all up completely. So I'm going to go ahead and stick the very lower arm into place. That would be the one that had the sway bar attached to it. So that'll go up and go into position. Like so. Remember, all of these are going to be 19, so putting it back together should be pretty self-explanatory. Okay, so I got pretty much got all the arms already back on. I got this very lower one in from the opposite side. I got this one in that I just showed you. Then I also went on ahead and put on the upper one on the right. I'm gonna put this sway bar link back into place. That's a 14 millimeter. Just like so. Tighten this guy up. Okay, so that guy's back on there. I'm going to go ahead and tighten up the shock mount fully now. Okay, that guy's tight. Pretty much the only thing left you have to do, like I said, I got this arm over here completely on, the 19 that's on, and I got the front arm back on as well. The only thing we'll need to do now is to, unhook your brake caliper, slide that back on, and that's held on by the two 19mm bolts that just slide straight into it. Those long, these guys are here. These long bolts. It just goes straight through the caliper and into place there. And you'll just have to reconnect the wire harness here, and the speed sensor that you took off will go back down there. And then obviously you're going to have to tighten up the axle nut. I don't know the exact torque specs of that. You can probably find that online somewhere. But that's pretty much all there is to it. I don't think I'm going to show you how to put everything back together, because everything is pretty straightforward. Just a matter of putting the bolts in. Aside from that, that should be it. If you have any comments or questions, please ask in the comment section below. If it's your first time to the channel, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate you guys watching. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button on your way out. Alright, catch you guys next time.